So this is another edition of the Heel to the Face podcast. I'm Jared.
I'm Brandon.
And this week it's all about the Royal Rumble. We've got information for this Royal Rumble 2022 as well as some facts and notes, past and present, to get you ready for the big event this upcoming Saturday night. That and so much more as another edition of the Heel to the Face podcast starts right now.
Fans celebrate with me from Rome to Rochester.
Bad luck seems to be my middle name. They might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
So this is another edition of the Heel to the Face podcast. I'm Jared alongside Brandon. As always, make sure you follow the show at Heel to the Face. That's going to be very important this upcoming week because we have our weekly episodes. I don't know if you saw, Brandon, but I did a little GCW recap this past week and uploaded it so that today we can focus mostly on the Royal Rumble. And then coming up this week, I will be in St. Louis for the Royal Rumble, and some of the videos will get uploaded to our YouTube channel, but maybe if I want to do a really quick video, something like at the event where I don't want it to be a full recap or a full preview, I'll just upload it straight to the Twitter account, so make sure to follow us on Twitter at Heel to the Face, as we're talking a lot of Royal Rumble this past week, but a few things quickly to talk about before we get to the Royal Rumble this past week. And one thing I guess I want to talk about, I did that GCW review, but one thing I kind of read after the review and I've been kind of crowing over, and I've said this before a few times, it's about, you know, sometimes we opened the curtain a little too much. We like the documentaries, The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. We love all these retrospectives, these WWE 24/7s. But the issue, I guess, that I have, and we know wrestling, what it is. We know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But we know magic. We know magic what it is. We know the illusion that it is. But what is nice about magic is and wrestling is that illusion that tricks us, even if it's for a short period of time, and the longer period of time that it tricks us, the better. So with that being said, I've said this before, I don't need to know about wrestling and about the ins and outs and the, let's say, getting rid of the mystery as it's happening. When we watch these documentaries about Shawn Michaels and Diesel and Stone Cold from the 90s and these Broken Skull sessions, they're great because they're talking about things that happened 20, 30 years ago that we've gotten to be curious, and all the wonder has kind of run its course, and now we get to know the behind the story.
Yeah.
But when we're learning about storylines like as they're happening, you know, I'm not interested in watching a 24/7 where Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar are talking about discussing their match, you know, while they're still in a feud. Stuff like that.
Yeah, why don't we do it at after the post-match?
Not even post-match, way down the line. Because again, let's say Brock Lesnar.
You could do it a year later.
You know, and as the further out, the better. I say that much. But without getting into too many details about that, I'm talking about a specific incident. And I'm talking about what happened at GCW where Matt Cardona wore a vest that said, "Fuck Mick Foley" on the back. It was part of his ECW gimmick. There was the big banner in the Hammerstein Ballroom said, "If Cardona wins, we riot." He had it on his shirt. He came out to the Sandman music. That's his new shtick. He's this, you know, kind of anti-establishment, trying to be like an ECW original, kind of, not the Zack Ryder that we're familiar with.
Yeah, so I saw that.
He gave he spit beer in some guy's face and then kissed his real-life wife, Chelsea Green, really hard, you know, very symbolic of Sandman and his wife, I forgot what it is, Bethula, I forgot the Sandman gimmick, the ECW gimmick that he used to pull. And he had the vest on and it said, "Fuck Mick Foley" on the back, and the Mick Foley-esque style vest. And I guess the issue that I'm having is Mick Foley responded to that, and instead of responding to it in the sense of wrestling storyline of Matt Cardona, he's going to have another thing coming if I get a hold of him, something cool. He literally just kind of was like, "I love Matt Cardona. I love everything he's doing. I think he got screwed over in WWE. I hate Matt Cardona, wink, wink for the jacket, but on all seriousness, I love the guy." And it's like, okay, you know,
why do you have to say that?
Why do you have to? Yeah, you know what I mean? It'd be like if the Miz and Edge, they've been doing their feud and they've been doing their thing. If they go backstage and they literally right away are like, "He was really funny out there. Did you hear what he said to me? That was hilarious. I didn't see that one coming. Yeah. That was funny."
He's a true pro, you know.
Edge really made me look like a moron out there. Let's wait. We can go down the line. Mick Foley, you can say that you saw it and you kind of laughed and thought it was funny and that you really actually respect Matt Cardona, but wait a few weeks at initial seeing it, be pissed, be mad, be like, F Mick Foley, F you, Matt Cardona, whatever. Obviously, I don't think this is going to turn into a GCW storyline, but just for the minute, like the initial reaction, you know what I mean? Be mad about it and then go back, a year from now and say, no, but seriously, I thought it was kind of fun.
Put it aside for a bit. You don't need to do
While
anything
he's
at the moment.
in the middle of the gimmick saying F you and
do it after the gimmick's done. Let it run its course and then it's good.
Yeah, because, now if he comes out at the next show with a fuck Mick Foley, we obviously know that him and Mick Foley are buddy, and that means absolutely nothing.
They probably hung out. They probably went and grabbed dinner like last week or something.
Yes, so just had to get that off my mind. We got to wait a little bit on some of these stories. We got to push them a little bit further down the line. But to get to the show this week, we want to focus pretty much on the Royal Rumble, and we'll start with the Royal Rumble 2022. That's the upcoming event. We'll talk about the matches themselves. Before we get into the Royal Rumble matches themselves, we'll talk about Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley, Becky Lynch, Doudrop. Any matches, not Royal Rumble matches, but, outside of Royal Rumble matches, you're looking forward to this upcoming Saturday night?
That's an easy one. That's a layup. It's Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, of course. That is the easiest answer in the book. It's been the match we've all been waiting to see. I love the build-up they've been doing the last few weeks. I love Brock Lesnar's personality. I love that Bobby's being more like, Bobby's himself. Bobby's a very serious guy from every interview, any back, kind of pulling behind the curtain stuff I've ever seen with Bobby Lashley. These guys are who they are. And when they when I was watching the weigh-in this past week on Monday Night Raw, and Brock Lesnar rolls up in his attire that he was rolling up in, I had my wife watching it, and she was like, "That's not how you roll up to a fight." I'm like, but it's Brock Lesnar. He's a farmer. He literally is. Like when he's not.
Yeah, the gimmick with Corey Graves. You want me to get naked there, Mr. Graves?
Yeah, that was pretty good. I got to tell you, this latest run with Brock Lesnar has really made me enjoy everything he's been doing lately. I know I've been critical on many episodes over the years, but I like the way they're doing things at the moment. It's something fresh, too, because all these years, 20 or so years plus, these two have never crossed paths until now. So, and the way they did it in the fatal 5-way match.
Yes.
That was good. It was just giving you a little taste, so it didn't ruin it for you. So, what's coming up this weekend is going to be fun. I mean, obviously we'll get to the Royal Rumble, but that match I'm looking forward to. I'm curious to see, honestly, I want to see how Doudrop does against Becky Lynch.
With Becky Lynch and Doudrop, I've had a little more intrigue in this as of late, not just with what they've been doing on television, but, the fact of learning that Doudrop, kind of was the student in the school many years ago, and then they essentially kind of cross paths or were destined to cross paths back in the UK, a very long time ago. You kind of forget that with Doudrop. You're just looking at her from her in-ring perspective, and she seems to be a rookie and, all this kind of stuff in WWE. But you forget about their cultural ties, and they've 100%. Kind of brought that, to the forefront about how, she wanted to cross paths with her, how Becky was obviously the veteran when Doudrop, Piper Niven was starting out. And then obviously Becky came over here.
I gotta get your take. What I saw this week from Doudrop in the side-by-side segment they did with Becky, Doudrop looked natural on the camera. She wasn't she wasn't stumbling over her words. Like she got to the point. She got what she had to get out, and she did it. I think she did a really good job. I think her message to Becky was great. And then finishing up, she takes the microphone off, goes off of her side of the camera, and goes over and attacks Becky. I thought that segment was absolutely fantastic.
The women's version of Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre, Scotland versus Ireland. We've already seen it before, again, in the men's division. We're seeing it in the women's. The tag team match, mixed tag match that we're seeing with Edge and Beth Phoenix versus The Miz and Maurice. I guess the issue that I have is it doesn't seem like there's much that is going to turn into this afterwards, because we've already seen Edge and The Miz at the last pay-per-view event, day one, and it just seems like this should have been first and that should have been second. Like that should have been, this should have been, we saw, long story short, Shane and The Miz were tag team partners and were in a tag team match, and they had the tag team affairs before they led up to the one-on-one encounter at WrestleMania a few years back. This time we had the one-on-one encounter first. Now we have this tag team match. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it really means anything. I feel like obviously Edge and his wife Beth Phoenix are going to win because they're the good guys. That's how that happens. But there's not going to be any more like down the line with The Miz and Maurice. I feel like we're done here, unless Beth Phoenix and Maurice are going to have a one-on-one match.
Yeah, but I think this gets all settled at the Rumble. I don't think it's going to roll into WrestleMania. I think there's going to be, and thankfully there's enough time between the end of Rumble to WrestleMania. So if you're going to put Edge and Miz into different storylines, it's not like it's going to be rushed.
I feel like this should have just been in reverse. You have the tag team match first, and then you have the one-on-one match, and then you're done with it.
I agree. I think that would have been cool. I mean, it's going to be nice to see Beth Phoenix in the ring again. It's always good to see the Glamazon. She always looks fantastic. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, also another match, obviously, Roman Reigns and Seth freaking Rollins. I love that they're going by Seth. I love how they're saying this.
That's what I was just about to say. What do you make of this? I mean, on top of all the stuff that WWE does, the many things that they do that are just not necessary. That's the thing. A lot of the stuff that they do is not necessary, and I mean, it doesn't add to the product.
Yeah, you know what's weird?
And the
not to cut you off.
with Seth Rollins, to me, it doesn't add to the product.
What's with the whole Seth freaking Rollins now? Like, he's never done that until recently. Why do we have to emphasize that part?
Why? Well, I mean, we'll talk about, obviously, WrestleMania. We're starting the road to WrestleMania. We'll talk about the whole stupendous thing going down the line. I like that Pat McAfee kind of made fun of it a little bit, but it deserves to be made fun of. What is it needed for?
Did you see Cole? He's trying not to like bust out laughing after McAfee was he throws the dictionary on the desk and was like,
what does that add? What does that add at all?
Here's the thing. As you can see, I'm wearing the old Hounds of Justice, the old Shield shirt, and I had to mention this. And this whole back and forth between Seth freaking Rollins and Roman Reigns, Mox got named.
Yes.
That was interesting. Mox got his name dropped on SmackDown recently, so I was like, man, I didn't. So are we like knocking, kind of moving that door a little bit? I know the forbidden door with Mickey James.
What's going on? They call him Mox and not Dean because, again, at the end of the day, Moxley isn't his real name either. So
yeah, it's like you're acknowledging an AEW name.
Yes,
even though it's not John Moxley.
I know that Moxley. I guess he used that prior to WWE. You know, that's kind of why they're using an AEW. But yes, that's if you're not just calling him like John. If you called him John, then you're saying, okay, we're calling him by his real name.
Even though they might be referring to his John Moxley, he's still his real name. His birth name is Jonathan.
So if they're calling him John or Jonathan or something like that, then you can kind of see. But calling him Mox, you're referring to him as just the gimmick that he had.
When I heard that, I was like, ooh, what's going on here? Like, not only do we have Mickey James that's not even in the company participate in the Royal Rumble, we also have a Mox reference on WWE programming, and I don't know if you heard recently, not major news, but former women's tag team champions, the Iconics, got reached out to. They're currently with Impact, and
said, no, they
turned it down. Yep, they said, nope, I'm good.
Now, with that being said, going into the Royal Rumble match itself, using deductive reasoning, meaning you're kind of making guesses and you're kind of making predictions based off of what we know via WWE television, what we know via, just being smart wrestling fans without cheating and being like, I heard this, I read that rumor, those kind of spoilers out there. Because we don't want to be out here saying things because of spoilers or I guess, revealing too many spoilers, because I like the Royal Rumble. Of all the things that I do not want to be spoiled, it is this. This is the last event I want to be spoiled. So without spoilers, just saying meaning who do you think is going to win? Who do you think is not going to win? Not without saying, well, I heard this person's scheduled to win, or I heard that person's scheduled to win. Without using those reasonings, more or less I think because the storyline is leading that way, or I think because, that would make a good storyline. Let's start thinking about who we think are going to win some of these matches.
Go ahead.
Men's Royal Rumble, we got 22 guys, without rumors, without knowing that it's going to be, Roman versus Brock at Mania regardless, without any of those thoughts, it's really wide open. And
I wouldn't say it's completely wide open. I'm just going to cut to the chase. I think Omos is the favorite.
You think he's the favorite? That is you're the first person I've heard say
Omos. And here's the thing.
What are you basing that on?
He's the biggest freaking guy in the freaking company.
Kane and Big Show have been the biggest. I mean, how many times have you watched the Royal Rumble and Kane is the new favorite for Jerry Lawler?
How are you going to have a guy like Omos who, I know recently he hasn't done very much.
How do you have Kane get eliminated every year? How do you have the Big Show get eliminated every year?
But here's the thing. Omos has never been knocked down. For example, he's never shown vulnerability. So why would you put him in the Royal Rumble and show vulnerability? You don't. That's going to ruin Omos for the future. So for me,
well, they've never ruined anyone though.
It might.
We've never had Brock Lesnar lose before and then come back and try to beat Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, but this is different because I think Omos really needs the Royal Rumble, honestly, to take the next step.
I mean, I'm not saying I would not like that. I think that would be
one of the
biggest surprises in WWE history if Omos won. It's just I don't.
You told me to go out of left field a little bit, so I'm throwing left field right in. I'll throw you another one in left field. I'm telling you a name that on the women's side, I guess it's not really a total left field, but I think Bayley wins.
Yeah. I heard from somebody today, and I can't say they're wrong because, again, I don't know who's going to win, and I don't want to know who's going to win. But somebody today I was talking to was saying, what about Lita? Because she hasn't mentioned that she's going to make one run. And, winning the Royal Rumble and going to WrestleMania is like, it's not really like you're signing up for a full-time contract anyways. If she wants to make a run, that's not even a run. Winning the Royal Rumble and then having one match at WrestleMania, that's not a run. That's a Goldberg run.
Yeah, it's not a typical run.
Even if she said she was just coming back for a one-off, she could win the Royal Rumble and go to WrestleMania, and that's still considered a one-off. I mean, How many times has The Rock done these one-offs? He was the champion.
Okay,
he
let me
won the
ask you
championship of the Royal Rumble, lost in a Mania.
Without any rumors or anything, is there any particular names that you are hoping to see at the Royal Rumble? I'm going to word it that way because, again, I don't want to use the verbiage.
You mean like surprises? So we know 22 men and 21 women have already been announced.
Yes.
So in those spots that have not been announced, any surprises? Yeah, without using rumors, a lot of people obviously have been throwing out the Moose thing.
On
top of you tweeting out the fact that they've met before on the football field.
Yes, of course. And of course, we've mentioned this before.
Yes.
Quinn Ojanaka, also known in the in the wrestling world as Moose, played a guy named Joe, I don't know why, who played for Georgia Tech many years ago. And I saw Moose had an interesting tweet the other day, which I tagged our my colleague over here, Jared, on. I haven't heard anything concrete, but just my gut feeling. Why put that out there if you're not even considering?
Well, how
going?
many times did Kenny Omega? I can remember like 3 years ago, Kenny Omega posted on Instagram or Twitter, one of them, the photo of him playing the Royal Rumble pinball machine like a day before the Royal Rumble.
I will say this: a name that I'm going to throw way out of left field, and you're going to be surprised by this one: Switchblade Jay White.
I mean, that would be really cool. I would pop more for that than I did for Edge, and a lot of people, that's my little thing. I have to say it, but. Because I read it every day that Edge, everyone's absolutely fell flat over, head over heels for that Edge coming out. And I was at that Royal Rumble, and I can tell you, it didn't really do it much for me. I mean, I liked it, sure, but it didn't do what the Hardy Boys coming out at WrestleMania. That, when you talk about the biggest pops, the most marked out I've ever been, that is it, not the Edge thing.
You want a big pop? I'll give you a big pop. Ronda Rousey 4 or 5 months post birth at the Royal Rumble. I'm not saying it's happened and not heard anything, but that would be crazy.
That's pretty much well out there that that people have been reading that WWE is really trying to push to bring Ronda Rousey, and more importantly, not out for the Rumble, but back in general.
In general, yeah.
And I don't see why that's not really that weird, because she never said she was done. I mean, the gimmick was she was supposed to be wrestling pretty decent, and she only was here for a full calendar year.
Here's the thing, though. 4 months post birth. That's a hell of a challenge.
Becky Lynch is, look at her. I mean, I don't know how many months it was post birth before she came back, but boy, it looked like it was like 100. So she came back in and did what she had to do against Bianca Belair. And here's the thing: I'm gonna throw. Speaking of Bianca, I think Bianca is going to have the most eliminations at the Women's Royal Rumble this year. I think if she's not in the Final Four, I'd be very, very surprised. I'm gonna throw another name out there as somebody who I think is returning. Asuka, I think she's gonna return as well. I mean, who else can you not bring in, or who else can you bring in at this point? You got Melina? I've said this before millions of times, and not surprising, but like more or less from my winning perspective. I really think they really need to push Natalya more. And I know a lot of people aren't a super big fan of her wrestling perspective.
What the hell's wrong with her wrestling?
And I don't know.
I don't get it.
That's because
she's the most technically gifted women's wrestler.
The storyline writes itself because she's literally. I mean, we talk about Charlotte Flair and the lineage and the history. Natalya has been there. I mean, the storyline for WrestleMania writes itself. The fact that she has been there for so long, the fact that she has so many matches, she's really the Charlotte Flair of the women's division. Here's really the thing. Natalya.
She doesn't get a lot of respect. Here's the thing.
And I don't know why.
She literally, I think, was one of the last graduates of the freaking Hart Dungeon, for example.
Yes.
Her uncle is who? Bret freaking Hart. You want to go with a freaking? I'm going to go Bret freaking Hart. Who was also the first. He was, and here's a fun fact. I know we're gonna get to that in a minute. Bret Hart was actually the first ever entrant into the Royal Rumble. If you didn't know that, so her whole career has been. And here's the thing: she's always kind of under the radar. I feel like they're not giving her enough juice.
I don't understand why she was never considered. Like, I don't know. Understand why she wasn't right there with Becky and Sasha and Charlotte.
She's the best
right
technical
from the
wrestler.
gimmick. I don't know why she doesn't have long, lengthy women's title reigns. She has the lineage. I mean, it's not just the
you know what it
ability.
is. I'm going to tell you what it is. She's not. She doesn't pull politics. She just comes in and does her job and goes home. That's the difference, because you know for a fact behind the scenes, Charlotte Flair pulls politics to do what she needs to do. That's what that stuff's not. That's not something that, it's not a spoiler, everybody. That's just been out there. Certain wrestlers, doesn't matter if you're male or female, certain wrestlers play politics to get certain advantages. Natalya, at least from what I've seen, whether it's in the ring, on reality shows, she doesn't seem like she's the political type person. She just comes in, punches the clock, and punches out.
I don't understand. To me, our dream WrestleMania match, I guess, and I don't understand it. It seems like it writes itself. Flair versus Hart, women's division. I mean, how we haven't built that up in the sense of we have Charlotte Flair and we've used that whole lineage to her advantage. Why we have another person that has almost the same thing, where they have all that kind of tie-in, where their entrance music, their gimmick, everything about them is a heart.
Well, here's the other thing too. She's a better wrestler than Charlotte Flair.
Well,
Sorry, I said it.
And if you say that,
I'm just
then
saying.
there really is no reason then why we haven't had,
because
it's literally we have Floyd Mayweather's descendant and Manny Pacquiao's descendant, and we really focus on Manny Pacquiao's descendant crazy, but don't acknowledge Floyd Mayweather's descendant at all.
The reason why Natalya doesn't get it, aside from the politics part, is her brand of wrestling is not exciting for the average casual viewer. For folks like ourselves who like the wrestling aspect, the Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan style, Natalya's head and shoulders above anybody else right now.
Maybe she needs to be sat down in the back and be like, hey, we're going to do this thing, and maybe you need to take on a few more moves, learn a few, because I don't think she'd be against it. If you literally told her, we want to make a deep run with you. We want to make you right up there with Becky. You're Becky, Sasha, Asuka, all those main women. We want you to be Bianca.
You know what I call her?
We want you right in there. We don't want you winning a tag team. We want you, when your music hits, it's the same as Charlotte's music hitting or Becky's music hitting. We know that you're here for the main event, for the women's title. You're not here for just the stupid gimmick
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say this. She's the women's version of Jerry Lynn. I mean, Jerry Lynn was one of the best wrestlers of all time. And Jerry Lynn, what major pushes did he really have? I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a fair point.
And here's the thing, and I'm just going to add to that the Jerry Lynn part. Even Eric Bischoff on his own show said, "Yeah, I dropped the ball on that one. I should have given JL some more runs." Natalya goes the same way. It's 100%. Natalya's always needed a push. They need to do something with her because her clock is ticking, so to speak.
I would like her to win. And as for the surprises, kind of going off the tangent there, I just feel like the other 8 are probably going to be a good mix of NXT. I feel like we're going to see those kind of.
Yeah, I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see Gunther. I think you're going to see Pete Dunne, and I think you're going to see Tommaso Ciampa.
I think probably Mandy Rose might sneak into the Women's Royal Rumble.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to give you another one who may give Bianca a little run for her money when it comes to eliminations. Raquel Gonzalez.
Yeah.
There's a good one. That's, if you want a really good one right there, Raquel Gonzalez. That would shock the world if she won the Rumble.
And one name that's kind of been getting thrown around, and I guess I'd be curious to see if he wins the men's, and is AJ Styles. It would be
I wouldn't be opposed.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I might be a little opposed to it just for the sake of one of the spoilers I saw weeks ago that isn't substantiated, and things were misspelled, and things were there was a lot of negative had him winning.
Yeah.
So just to completely throw that out, because I threw away 9 out of 10 things on that thing. So to throw out the whole thing saying it had no validity, I don't want him to win just on that sake alone. It had spelling errors. It had 30 men being eliminated, aka 30 men can't be eliminated.
I saw this joke where Veer was going to win, I think, somewhere online. I was like, oh, Veer, if Veer won, I'd be really surprised there. No offense to Veer. I just don't see that happening.
So, there's lots of Royal Rumble facts and trivia and cool things to look at, and we've got a few that could, obviously stand a test of time, but every year the one good thing is we have a few more facts basing off of the previous Royal Rumble. The year before, we had facts last year, and heading into this year, we have some more, I guess, time-sensitive facts. On top of just some other generic facts that probably aren't going to change. So we have ones that are going to change and ones that are not. Some that are not going to change or may change is that there have been 10 winners in their first attempts. Asuka, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Ric Flair, Yokozuna. Yes, Asuka isn't by default.
Hold on. Yeah, Asuka. I mean, Hacksaw by default too. It was the first
yes.
Rumble.
So Hacksaw, Asuka, they both in their very first Rumbles, clearly by default.
Yeah.
Ric Flair, Yokozuna, Lex Luger, Vince McMahon, Brock Lesnar, Chris Benoit, Alberto Del Rio, and Shinsuke Nakamura. All won Royal Rumbles in their very first.
Can I cut you off really quick? You know who had an accidental elimination of himself in his first Royal Rumble match? A lot of people do not know this. Go back to 1996, Stone Cold Steve Austin. There was it was a slippery incident.
96. Was 96?
96.
Was because I remember 90. I thought it was 97. He got eliminated, but 96. They didn't see it.
96. 96. What happened was they called the baby oil incident.
I understand, but 97's the one that was at the Alamo Dome.
I forget what venue it was, but I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was 96. Here's like I haven't even looked at this. This is going off the top of my brain. So if I'm off by a year, excuse me.
Alamo Dome, in which he did get eliminated in the Alamo Dome, but they said the refs didn't see it, so he got back in. And he was all mad because he was supposed to be part of the Final Four, which ended up making the next pay-per-view the Final Four to crown the champion because Shawn Michaels.
He had a good run in the Royal Rumbles, and I don't think it ever affected his Hall of Fame status.
96, I want to say too, was right before because that 96 was when he made his WrestleMania debut, and I want to say he was still holding the $1 million belt in the 96 WrestleMania.
I think I want to say it was 96. I could be wrong. Again,
so he'd have to have been the $1 million belt with Ted DiBiase. Stone Cold, like maybe still even the ringmaster if it was 96.
I think he was. Yeah, he was. I think he was definitely the ringmaster at that point.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's going to stick to that. If you want to tell us in the comments if he's wrong.
If you want to tweet, you can tweet at Heel to the Face or at Icebreaker21. You can tweet at me and say, no, you're wrong.
Obviously, we haven't had a ton of women's matches and stats to keep track of, but the current longest one right now for the women is Sasha Banks, 54 minutes and 18 seconds, the longest time for a woman in a Royal Rumble. Another cool stat, Bret Hart. He has been in 5 Royal Rumbles. In all 5, he has lasted over 15 minutes. So no time has Bret Hart ever been in a Royal Rumble has he been a cheap exit.
No,
he's made a substantial time in each. One thing that many people don't know, we talk about the 10-timers club of being in 10 Royal Rumbles. You got, the Undertakers, the Stone Colds, probably not even the Stone Colds to be honest with you, but the Undertakers, the Shawn Michaels,
the King.
Rikishi has been in 10 Royal Rumble
Who would have thought
matches.
Rikishi?
But one kind of caveat to say to that is he's had a few different characters. He currently has had 4 different characters in the Royal Rumble, obviously with Fatu and Head Shrinker Fatu.
Yep.
So he's and Rikishi and there's one more in there. I'm trying to think. So it's Fatu, Head Shrinker Fatu. Oh, and the Sultan.
Sultan, yep.
So 4 gimmicks, but that's not the record. And we talk about Mick Foley being the 3 faces of Foley. He's got nothing on the Godfather or Charles, right? Who has had 5 gimmicks in the Royal Rumble. You've had Kama Mustafa. You've had the Papa Shango.
The Godfather.
You've had the Godfather, and you've had the Good Father.
Oh, I forgot about the Good Father.
Yes.
That's the one I didn't. I was like, wait, where was the 5th one?
So 5 gimmicks for the Godfather and his various other characters. That is the record right now. 5 times. In fact, every time Roman Reigns has been in the Royal Rumble, all 5 times, final 3.
Doesn't
so again,
surprise
no
me.
cheap out for him. He's always right there at the end. Probably what all the Mark fans who hate him or now like him were always hating because they see him in the final 3 and they're like, great, he's going to win again.
Yep.
So all 5 times he's been in there. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, we talked about him winning the first Royal Rumble. He joins Edge and HBK as the only 3 competitors to have wrestled in a Royal Rumble 4 different decades. Who would have thought? I mean, Edge and HBK, but Hacksaw Jim Duggan joins that list. Hacksaw, that's a trivia. Who is the third of Edge, HBK, and blank to have been in a Royal Rumble in 4 different decades? Hacksaw, Jim Duggan, and Big John Studd and Vince McMahon are the only 2 who have 50% win ratios, meaning they've been in 2 Royal Rumbles and they both won 1. Scott Hall has never been in a Royal Rumble match.
What?
Scott Hall and
really?
Now Razor Ramon in 1997 was in a match, but that was the fake Razor when Scott Hall had left. Remember fake Razor,
the fake Razor.
Diesel.
Yep.
Scott Hall himself,
yep.
whether Scott Hall the character or Scott Hall as Razor Ramon, has never been in a Royal Rumble match.
That's interesting.
And to kind of keep things into perspective for this final this upcoming Royal Rumble, and a stat that you can actually keep track of this Royal Rumble, see if it's broken. We talked about Chris Jericho last year. He's got the longest cumulative time for a Royal Rumble at 4 hours and 59 minutes and 33 seconds. But numbers 2 and 3, who are both in this Rumble, are right behind him. Randy Orton, 4 hours, 31 minutes, and 47 seconds.
I think he gets it.
And Rey Mysterio at 4 hours, 5 minutes, and 41.
I'll put my money on Randy, him in a longer stay in the match.
So,
I think he breaks Jericho's record unless the Forbidden Door is open and Chris Jericho is there at the Royal
Randy
Rumble.
Orton needs about 28 minutes. Rey Mysterio needs about 54 minutes.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I can see Randy. Randy, if he doesn't get close, he will get it next year because Randy will be in the next year.
You got to give Chris Jericho the credit, though, because we're talking about appearances. Chris Jericho currently at 11 appearances.
So his per average was pretty high. Yeah.
Randy Orton and Rey Mysterio, they've already, Rey Mysterio's at 12, Randy Orton's at 13. This will be Rey Mysterio's 13th appearance. Randy Orton's 14th appearance.
So Chris Jericho's per Rumble time is pretty damn good.
So even if they beat it, he still has the 4 hour and 59 mark.
Wow.
At only 11 appearances.
Yeah, that per match, that's pretty damn good for Jericho.
Yeah. So think about it too, and if they don't beat it, then he'll still have that at 11 appearances. Well, like I said, they'll be up into the 13s and 14s and still not a match of that.
That's going to be a fun Rumble. I can't wait.
This Saturday night, first time ever.
You'll be there.
Saturday night, Royal Rumble, not Sunday night. I wish it was on a Sunday, but we'll take it on a Saturday night from St. Louis. The second time ever it's let me stop there. The second time ever it has been in St. Louis, but the first time ever it is at the Dome of the Americas Center, the old Edward Jones Dome, the TWA Dome, whatever you call it, the place that was built for the St. Louis Rams, but then 20 years later wasn't good enough for the St. Louis Rams. And one thing I'm going to definitely check out and be very curious about following the Rumble, because I'll still be there on Sunday, is I'm going to be very curious with the Rams of Los Angeles currently in the NFC Championship game. I'm going to go to a bar maybe when the game's going on and see, how does St. Louis feel about the Rams?
Let me know, because I'm curious. You'll be there. I want to know.
Is it going to be a bunch of Rams fans from the past that are rooting for him, or is it going to be the opposite? Is it a bunch of people
Niners.
booing him?
Yeah, rooting for the Niners.
Like you look at it from like a Cleveland Browns perspective, like the Cleveland Browns before they got the team back again, were they rooting for the Ravens or were they rooting against the Ravens?
True.
The difference is they're still called the Rams, and the Rams have moved a few different times, so it makes you question, is it like the Raiders where they're just like, well, they're there now, but we're still a Rams area, or are they, no, we hate the Rams? Like, you have the for Tom Brady's and the against Tom Brady's. Are they the for the Rams or are they against the Rams?
Keep me posted. I'm curious. I'll be watching. I'll be checking the Twitter out.
And unfortunately, that's why the Royal Rumble's in St. Louis, because they don't have a football team. Because if they were still in St. Louis, they'd be hosting the NFC Championship game in that same stadium. But instead, that stadium's hosting wrestling this Saturday night. And like I said, I'll be there and posting videos to talk all about it and so much more. So thanks for watching this video about all our Royal Rumble information. And next week, we'll break down what happened at the Royal Rumble, and so much more as we officially start the road to WrestleMania. For Brandon, I'm Jared, and this has been another edition of the Heel to the Face podcast.